Welcome everybody. Today we have an important training. This is actually a mandatory training that our offices has to do twice a year, and it is our Code Blue training. Okay, there should be a piece of paper. Hopefully all of you have gotten, which is basically one sheet of paper that talks about how Code Blue is handled in our office. What does Code Blue mean? Code Blue means is a medical emergency that happens within our office. Okay, so you all have a copy of this policy, so you have a chance to review it. We're going to go over it a little bit. But basically, what happens in our office if there is an emergency with a patient or a parent or a grandparent or a staff member that is of a medical nature? How do we handle that here in the office, okay? The first thing I want to talk about is really what the two roles you could possibly play. If there's a medical emergency in the office, there's about a 95% chance you will be a bystander, okay? Meaning that you will not really be involved, but you still have a role as a bystander, all right? There is the small chance, though, that you will be what they call the witness, the person who sees the emergency and is the person that recognizes it, okay? So let's talk first about the witness role and what kind of things constitute an emergency in the office, all right? Because the last thing you want to do is be that kid that pulls the fire alarm and there's no fire, right? All right? So let's talk about the witness. So at the very top it says a Code Blue is when a patient, or anyone in our office for that matter, experiences one of the 5 following things, okay? The first one is called respiratory distress or breathing. They are either not breathing well or they are not breathing, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, they are unconscious, all right? Which probably means they are laying on the floor, all right? And they can't be like, they're not like sleeping, they're like not waking up type of a thing, okay? Number 3 is an allergic reaction, all right? Or we call an anaphylactic reaction. That's where a patient is, they're swelling, they have a hard time breathing, and they're having an allergic reaction. Maybe their face is looking splotchy. That would be another one. Number 4 would be a seizure, okay? And then we're talking like a seizure where someone's on the floor and they're shaking, or that kind of a seizure. And then 5th would be chest pain. Good question.
I just said foaming.
Yeah, plasma foaming. So, and the person who's complaining of their chest hurting, okay? Those are the 5 major medical emergencies that we need to be on the lookout for. And if you witness one of these things, you become a witness, all right? Now, if you all of a sudden find yourself thrust into the role as the witness of a medical emergency, what should you do, okay? So what is the first thing you should do?
Alert.
You alert everybody, all right? So you are going to recognize and alert. How do you alert everyone in this office is the first number 1 item on our list here, all right? Over your radio, you're going to say Code Blue in whatever. Waiting area, blue treatment, checkout space, wherever it might be, that's where you're going to say, and you're going to say it 2 times very clearly over the radio. All the more reason that's very important. You have a working and functioning radio every single day when you have one on, okay? So when that goes out, all right, that is the alert moment, okay? And whenever that happens, doctors in the office are trained that when they hear that, they stop whatever it is they're doing and they go to that area, okay? And then as far as actual handling and the assistance of that patient in the medical emergency, all of that is done by the doctors in the office, okay? And the most senior doctor is what we call the code director. They're in charge of handling the entire situation. You do not have to know how to solve medical emergencies or problems. You should have your CPR training updated, of course, but that is the most that you really have to be able to do with a patient. If you are the witness, though, you have an additional role in this situation. You're going to call it over the radio, and then you are going to stay with that patient, right? Then, when the doctors arrive, right, obviously we're going to find out what's going on, and then they are going to then tell you to go get some important things, all right? We have 4 items that need to be brought over, and you, along with the patient manager, will come and grab those 4 things and bring them over to the scene of the incident, okay? Now, number 3, you'll see those 4 things on 1, the medical emergency kit, the airway tub, the equipment tub, and the supplemental oxygen, all right? Does anyone know where the medication kit, the airway tub, and the equipment tub is kept?
Sterile.
It's kept in sterile. More specifically, where in sterile is it kept?
Under the computer.
Under the computer. And all of our, in this office, it's underneath the computer, all right? So you open that up, and everyone today, your homework is to go and open up that cabinet and see where it is. There's 3 tubs in there. There's 2 big clear ones and 1 red one, okay? Those 3 tubs get brought to the scene. We also have our supplemental oxygen that should be brought there. Does anyone know where the supplemental oxygen is? It is. It's on the back landing, okay, on that little cart. So those are the 4 things that get brought between the patient manager and the witness. Those 4 things get brought, okay? So the second thing you're going to know is where and how to get the equipment. All right? The third thing you'll do as the witness is you're going to have to act. Okay? And what I basically mean by that is you are then at that point going to help and assist the doctor in any way that they need. And the most likely thing you will do, all right, is just be there, just there waiting at attention to help. Okay? Because we might need someone to go get something. We might need someone to go meet the ambulance outside or whatever it is. That is going to be your role and responsibility. Okay? So if you get thrust into that role, whether you like it or not, those are going to be your responsibilities. Does that make sense? Okay? Let's talk about the flip side of that, all right? Let's say you are somewhere else in the office and you hear code blue, all right? And it's not in your area, you're with your patient or whatever. What is it that you do, all right? Should you run to the scene to help? No, in fact, you should do quite the opposite, all right? You should stay where you are at, all right? And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to stay and distract. And what I mean by that is one of the worst things that can happen in an emergency is for a group of people to gather around, all right? That messes a whole bunch of things up. We can't get to things quickly. We have people who are communicating and then making things difficult to do that way. The worst thing we can do is make a scene around that. We need the people who are handling it to be able to do everything they need to do, okay? So you're going to stay and you're going to distract your patient, your family, your parent, whatever it is, and try and keep it, because there might be a commotion, all right? And you need to try and keep people over where by you, okay? The next thing you're going to do is you're going to listen. At some point in the process, the code director, the doctor, is going to tell the patient manager what needs to happen, all right, with the other patients in the office, all right? One of two things. Either one, the emergency can be contained and handled right where it's at and everything just can continue to function as normal, or two, you're going to need to help excuse your patients from the office because we need to clear the office out, okay? So that's what you're going to listen for, is direction on what you should do next, okay? And until you hear otherwise, you should just keep on kind of doing your thing and distracting and having that conversation, okay? And then the last thing, of course, is to act whatever direction you get from there, okay? Does that make sense? So, like I said, 95% of the time, you are going to be the bystander, and that's going to be your role. And then there's the witness's job too, okay? Make sense? All right, papers down. Okay. Give me the 5 reasons, and turn your papers over so no cheating. Give me the 5 reasons why you might become a witness. What would you have to see? Give me one of them.
If somebody's unconscious.
Someone's unconscious, laying on the ground, not responsive, right?
Seizures.
A seizure, good.
Chest pain.
Chest pain.
Allergic reaction.
What appears to be allergic reaction to something. And
Not breathing.
trouble with their breathing, okay? Very good, awesome. If you are the witness, all right, and you have witnessed something, you see Dr. Al go, oh, and I tip over, all right? Let's say I am in the sterilization area packaging explorers, okay? All right, what is it you're gonna radio?
Code sterile.
Code blue and sterile. Code blue and sterile. You say it twice, very loudly, very clearly over your radio, okay? All right? If you are sitting, while Dr. Al's having his code blue, all right, let's say you're sitting at hygiene 1 and you're in the middle of polishing, what are you going to do?
Keep polishing.
Keep on polishing, even though you're probably sweating bullets, right? All right, you're going to keep on polishing and talking about My Little Pony, right? Okay? That's going to be your role at that point. If you're that person who is standing right at the sterilization area and you say code blue, blah, 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 and all of a sudden Dr. Mai runs over, all right? Dr. Mai should be asking for some things, all right? Where are you going to retrieve them from?
Under the computer.
On the show cabinet. Hopefully I've not fallen over in front of the cabinet, okay? Makes sense? Okay? But you're going to grab it, and what are the 4 things that we'll need to bring to the scene of the incident?
Medical kit.
The medical, which medical kit?
The 3 that are under the cabinet.
The 3, so the emergency the medicine, the airway, the equipment, and they're all labeled, and then the oxygen, okay? Make sense? Okay, everybody. So that's your role in emergency, all right? Any questions on that with anybody? Feeling pretty good?
So I will look at your role as a bystander. Have you driven down the freeway and traffic is all bumped up, and all of a sudden you realize, like, it's because someone pulled over on the side of the road and everyone else slowed down to watch? Your role when you're the bystander is to not be the one that slows down and watch, and it's going to be hard. But if all of a sudden you get on the radio and you're like, does anyone know what it really is? saying, that clouds up the radio, so if anything does actually need to be said, it can't be. So I think that's the important thing. If you think that there was just a code blue called, it's okay. You're just gonna pay attention more, and if you're not really sure, just wait. And if it's radio silence, you're like, oh yeah, that really was what it was. It really was a code blue, that wasn't a joke. I think when you talk about, I think we've had 4 code blues in the office.
We've had 5, yes.
5. What they were, so everyone's just kind of.
So we've had 5 different code blues in our office, all right? To be honest, out of the 5 code blues that we've had, only 1 has been a patient, okay? 1 has been a patient, 3 have been either a parent or a guardian, and 1's been a staff member, okay? So anyone is susceptible to a medical emergency, all right? This is what we handle them. Yes?
It's actually been 2 staff members.
Has there been 2 staff members?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I don't know about the second one, all right? We had a patient pass out at the checkout counter, and they hit their head really hard, and we weren't sure what happened. They just fainted, all right? But they were not responsive, so that constitutes medical emergency, all right? We have had a parent have a breathing issue, which ended up just being some onset to asthma, and we've had a parent, 2 other parents become unconscious. Both of them because they had taken too much pain medicine earlier that day, and one was pretty dehydrated. One had just taken too much and actually overdosed. All right, so that was kind of fun.
Veronica had a parent one time I was next to her that had a seizure, right?
It's
But
like a grandma.
It was a grandma or somebody, they had just
Sure.
been pulled back and she just,
Started having issues.
just
Okay.
fell.
These things can happen all the time, and and then we had a staff member who had an allergic reaction, an anaphylactic reaction to something. Yeah. So we have ways to handle all that. The doctors are trained on how to manage those situations. Inside our medical kit, there's actually a whole a series of protocol sheets about medical protocols to follow with an emergency. So we're all trained to handle those things and take care of those things, and that's why we do our training and things like that to make sure we're up to date on what we need to do. So there we go.
And I think one thing you didn't mention is that the only person that calls 911 is the witness after they've been instructed by the doctor. Okay, that one patient that we had that passed out at checkout, we had someone call 911. And so the ambulance showed up. So we had an office full of kids, and all of a sudden the ambulance shows up, the paramedics run in, and by the time they got here, the girl had regained consciousness, she was okay. They took her anyway, so you can imagine how happy the mom was when she got the ambulance bill. Okay, because an ambulance bill is about 20 grand. So it was $20,000 to transfer her from here to the hospital. And
5 minutes away, yeah.
Mom wasn't thrilled that happened where her daughter was in an okay position. She needed to be checked out after that, but she could have very easily gotten into the car and driven her for much less.
That mom that happened with Veronica, minutes later, her husband or somebody came by and he's like, she's okay. This happens to her quite a few times a day. It was something normal for her.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything that was.
And that's why in the policy it says that the code director is the person who determines if emergency services need to be contacted or not. Okay? Because they'll know if it justifies us getting extra help. Okay? All right, there's our training.